Today's edition of Back Roads of Illinois. I am Cesar Delgado. We were Central Illinois agriculture source, and in the Midwest alongside in Central Illinois agriculture, we're glad you're here on Back Roads of Illinois. We were talking about the World Agricultural Supply and Demand Estimate report on Thursday's morning and conab from Brazil for Thursday morning as well. The Mississippi River been running in the river. The concerns about the barge at the river level is pretty low. Meantime, we are watching for tropical storm in the Gulf Coast of Louisiana and Mississippi. This is your agricultural storyline for today on Back Roads of Illinois. The Huskers Days in Grand Island, Nebraska. It's underway in Grand Island for this week because it's big non-irrigation show in the Midwest and Great Plains. The World Agricultural Supply and Demand Estimate report is coming for this Thursday morning at 11 Central Time from the Department of Agriculture. We'll watch the conab report from Brazil's soybean production as well. In Sandwich, Illinois, there was the largest fair in north central Illinois and the state of Illinois. The Sandwich Fair held on September 4th on through 8th. We're back with our guest Ed Usset from the University of Minnesota and Brian Basting from Advanced Trading. Stay tuned on Back Roads of Illinois. We were joining with Ed Usset from the University of Minnesota in Minneapolis. Ed is a grain market analysis for the University of Minnesota. How are you today? Did you watch the Vikings on Sunday in New York?
I didn't watch them, Caesar. I listened to them on the radio, and I'm happy to note that they won, and your Bears won.
Bears is going to be in the playoffs.
You're a very positive thinker, Caesar. I give you thumbs up for that.
Harvest season in the upper Midwest.
Well, we've had drier weather over the last week, and it's actually unseasonably warm. So, and remember, Caesar, we're further north, so we're not as far as along as you down in Illinois, but things are going to get underway soon. Soybeans first, then corn. And of course, the Minnesota crop is going to be the disappointing one in the Corn Belt this year.
We heard that things are valuable. What is your thoughts on that?
The Minnesota crop is going to be the worst in the upper Midwest, the worst in the Corn Belt. We had too much rain, too many washed out areas, and of course, prices are not good. We're sort of getting the worst of both worlds up here in the North Country.
What is your thoughts on the World Agricultural Supply and Demand Estimate report on this Thursday?
Well, Caesar, I think people are anticipating that USDA is going to pare back the yields on corn in particular. I'm not sure about soybeans. And I have no reason to second guess that, although I guess I'd be a little surprised if they actually pare back that yield on corn. I don't think it's going to get bigger. And I'm not looking for any other surprises. USDA or the market throws a big corn yield number, surprises us with that maybe in the November or December report. But otherwise, I'd like to think that maybe we've seen the lows for the season. Again, that doesn't mean we go straight higher, but step one is quit going lower.
Do you have some concerns about the election with China?
I always have concerns there. We are not getting along with China. We haven't gotten along with them for 5 or 6 years now, ever since the trade war. And that's problematic for agriculture. We send a lot of agricultural goods their way, particularly soybeans. I think your listeners understand that. It's not a good thing not to get along with a major trading partner, and they're doing all they can to move their imports of corn and soybeans to South America. Having said that, the two parties, as best I can tell, are both pretty, they have an anti-trade streak to them in both parties, so I don't see a solution there coming soon.
Do you have any final thoughts?
Well, I think, Cesar, a lot of your listeners are going to put this new crop coming up into the bin and they're going to wait. It's what we did last year. It didn't work very well. I will just remind listeners of the 11th commandment of grain marketing. Thou shalt not hold unpriced corn or soybeans in the bin after July 1. That hurt a lot of people this year. It's going to hurt people 4 out of 5 years. 1 out of 5 years it works, but it didn't work this year. And if you put grain in the bin, here's my thought. If you put grain in the bin and you're waiting for a higher price, define that higher price. Are you looking for 50 cents more, 70 cents more, $1 more? These things that we can get a rally, but put a number on it. Get something sold when you meet that price objective. And if you don't get there, if we don't get that big rally, don't forget that 11th commandment. I don't think it pays to hold after July 1.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you.
This is Ed Usset from the University of Minnesota. This is your commodity markets update on back roads of Illinois. Corn futures finished and down 8 to 9 cents. Soybean futures finished and down 7 to 9 cents. Wheat futures finished and down 8 to 9 cents. This is your livestock markets. Cattle futures finished and up 3 to 6 cents. Feeder cattle finished and down 7 to 8 cents. Lean hogs finished and up 8 to 5 cents. Crude oil finished and down 10 to 9 cents. Dow Jones finished and down 3 points. This is your morning markets update on back roads of Illinois. And welcome back to the show with Brian Basting from Advanced Trading in Bloomington, Illinois. We were talking about the commodities markets with Brian. And how are you today, Brian?
I'm fine, thanks, Cesar. How are you?
Good. Let's start with our conversation about the World Agricultural Supply and Demand Estimate report on Thursday's morning.
It's a major report. It's going to be an update of the yields and production estimates, of course, for the 2024 crops that your listeners are growing and getting ready to harvest. Uh, Usually this report is associated with some price volatility, not always, but I looked at the history of the price volatility over the last 10 years. And it's worth pointing out that both for corn and soybeans, there have been several times over that time period where we've seen increased price volatility, either to the upside or to the downside. So I'd remind your listeners, Caesar, that price prediction is impossible. I think is a much better strategy going forward is to manage price movement, work with a trusted risk management advisor to do that, but be prepared for volatility with this report. Now, the trade isn't looking for much of a change in production from this report from what it was in August. So the trade estimates for production and ending stocks, for example, are very near what they were in August. So maybe that sets up the market for a surprise on Thursday, either direction. Again, I don't have a bias one way or another, but since the trade is so tightly close to where it was in August, that could be setting up the market for a surprise. So that's the message that I'd share with your listeners today.
Are you watching for the acreage report on September 30th also?
Yes, the September 30th report will give us the final carryout estimate for corn and soybeans for the just completed 23-24 crop year. Of course, that crop year was finished on August 31st. There have been times also when associated with that report that gives us an update on carryout when market volatility has been high. There have been years where it hasn't happened too, but once again, um, have marketing positions, risk management positions in place prior to the release of that report is a prudent marketing strategy. So that's what I'd encourage your listeners to do moving forward, because there's a lot of unpredictability this time of year in terms of crop production results, and in this case, add in the final carryout estimate for 23-24.
Brian, the conab from Brazil. It's coming up with the World Agricultural Supply and Demand Estimate report. What is your thoughts on Brazilian production?
It's a great question, Caesar, because conab, that's CONAB, is very similar to USDA. CONAB, if you will, is the Brazil equivalent of USDA. And that report will come out, I believe it's 7 a.m. Central Time on Thursday, as you said. And of course, our supply demand report comes out at 11 o'clock. Potential is still there for a very large, in fact, a record soybean crop. But the first hurdle has been encountered by the Brazilian producer. And that first hurdle that they've encountered with this crop is it's very dry at the moment.
Is there anything would you like to tell our listeners about this harvest season? Farmers are ready for this season.
First of all, and most importantly, Caesar, I want to wish everyone a safe harvest. It's a busy time of year. We all know it's a very important time of year, but safety is first and foremost, and that goes with your own personal safety, getting your work done, and including that, of course, is hauling grain to the elevator, um, filling up your on-farm storage bins, whatever the case may be. We want everyone to enjoy a safe harvest here. Um, Secondly, would be we want producers to be thinking about marketing. How are they going to market this 2024 corn and soybean crops? And it really is very important because markets can change every year. There's going to be surprises. So really encourage producers to have a marketing plan in place as they finish harvest year with the 2024 crops. Work closely with a trusted risk management advisor to get that established. And it's probably not too early, Caesar, to think about 2025. But again, each individual has their own circumstances, but at least it's something to think about. But most definitely, we encourage producers to get control of the 2024 crops, preferably by working with a strategy that puts a floor underneath the market, but leave the upside open. In my opinion, that's a good way to approach the markets. So.
Absolutely. Farming is second dangerous job. Be careful.
Well said, Caesar. Well said.
Do you have any final thoughts?
No, I always enjoy visiting with you, and hopefully at some point get a chance to meet many of your listeners going forward. But I know it's a busy time now, the next few weeks. So just encourage everyone to have a safe harvest, and we're looking forward to seeing what these yields are for 2024.
Where people can find you for their risk management consulting services.
If you'd like to talk with one of our risk management consultants, Cesar, you can call our 800 number. It's 800-664-2321, and we'll put you in contact with our risk management advisors. At that point, we'd be happy to visit with you about your operation. Looking forward to 24 crops being harvested here. Be an opportune time to discuss that.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks for the opportunity, Cesar.
This is Brian basting from Advanced Trading in Bloomington, Illinois, on back roads of Illinois. December lean hogs minus 10 cents at $71.15. November feeder cattle plus $1. 425 of $232.275. December live cattle dash $1. 375 176 425. December corn minus 3 single quote 0 at $404 single quote 2. November soybeans minus 20 single quote 6 at $997 single quote 2. December Chicago wheat plus 5 single quote 6 at $574 single quote 2. December Kansas City wheat plus 8 single quote 2 at $584 single quote 0. Closing quotes provided by Kyle Bumstead Branch Office Manager Erickson, Nebraska Allendale, Incorporated. Thank to Allendale Inc. for the close of the markets. Thanks to Ed Usset and Brian basting from Advanced Trading. We're running out of time on our show, but you can listen it on whenever get your podcast. This been Back Roads of Illinois. I am Cesar Delgado. Have a great day.